This morning, New Yorkers are waking up with a new lieutenant governor.
Antonio Delgado, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
Former upstate Congressman Antonio Delgado sworn in as the 65th Lieutenant Governor of New York yesterday with his family by his side. And the Lieutenant Governor joining us for his first appearance right here on Pix 11 Morning News. Mr. Delgado, good to see you. Congratulations on being sworn in. Can you hear us? Is he frozen? There you go. Good morning. How are you? Can you hear us?
Oh,
Having problems with him. Oh, there you go.
go.
There you go.
I don't know what happened.
Well, we're on
It's
live
okay.
television. Welcome to live television,
goodness.
Lieutenant Governor. Good to see you. Congratulations on being sworn in as the Lieutenant Governor officially. And so we want
Thank you very much. Good being with you.
Yeah, we want to begin, obviously, with some big critical issues right now facing this state, facing this country, Lieutenant Governor, given just what happened in Texas 10 days after Buffalo, the gun violence plaguing New York. The governor, as you know, rolled out this extreme risk protector order to seize weapons or prevent gun purchases by potential threats under red flag laws. How will these new laws prevent this from happening again?
Well, we need every type of angle on this because the pain is too harsh. What we're seeing happen to communities time and time again, and the loss of life and the loss of innocence, the families who are grieving today, it's immense. As a father of 8-year-old boys, I cannot imagine the pain. And it is incumbent upon all leaders at every level of government, the national level, at the state level, the local level, to step up and do more. You talked about making sure that we ensure that the red flag laws are better implemented and got real support on the ground to do that. Universal background checks across the country are going to be critical. Making sure we get assault weapons off of our streets are going to be very important. Making sure that we deal with illegal guns and ghost guns and how they're purchased and manufactured under the radar. All of these things are going to be crucial if we want to make sure that we're able to protect our communities and protect our children from such heinous violence.
Yeah, so do you think we should raise the age to buy a gun?
I do think, and I know the governor's talked about this, especially when it comes to AR-15s, assault weapons. There's no reason why we should have 18-year-olds able to walk into a store and purchase these types of weapons. So at a bare minimum, yes, I do think when it comes to the AR-15 and other assault weapons, there should be an increase on the age limit. At the very least.
Yeah, and all this playing out, while you're obviously the Lieutenant Governor, so your seat is now vacant in Congress at a time when folks are looking to Congress to take some kind of action. The Democrats right now control the House of Representatives. With these upcoming midterm elections, a lot of what you're talking about really relies on Congress. Why did you, I guess, make the choice to step away from Congress and take on this role?
Well, a couple things. One, the things that I've talked about, especially universal background checks, which I think if anything can get done and should be getting done, it should be that, given that 80% of the country actually supports it. We passed that legislation. I voted to support that legislation. It's already made its way through the House. It is now in the Senate. I wasn't in the Senate. I was in the House. So it is now in the Senate. And it's up to the Senate now to get that through and have the Biden administration put it into law. So that's the first point. And then in terms of my role now, it's important, especially as we see some of the rollbacks, not just around gun violence, but reproductive rights, voting rights that are happening all across this country. It is incumbent that New York step up as it always has stepped up and lead, and to protect women's right to choose, and to protect our voting rights, and to make sure that our kids can go to school without fear of gun violence. We have to lead in this moment as we deal with the fragility of our country. And so being able to serve as Lieutenant Governor at a time where New York is necessary, at a time where we have to be that example to the rest of the country, is exactly where I feel like I should be at this moment.
Well, then it's very important to the Democratic Party who will take your old seat. Are you supporting or throwing your support behind anybody at this point?
Absolutely. I know that for the special election coming up in August, Pat Ryan has stepped up to run. He and I have a relationship, a good relationship, and I intend to support him.
All right, so that brings us to the topic then of redistricting. Obviously, you're talking about who you would like to support for your seat that's up for grabs. Some say the entire redistricting, Lieutenant Governor, was a bit of an overreach the first go-around to redraw these lines in Democrats' favor. So what are your thoughts on the new maps in particular as they stand today?
What I'm focusing on when I think about the political landscape and where we are today is trying to make sure that we don't find ourselves in this position again. You know, New York was trying to lead on this issue with an independent commission, trying to make sure that we take the partisanship out of drawing maps. And ultimately, the independent commission was unable to agree and put forth maps that would reflect a bipartisan agreement. And once that happened, once the independent commission was unable to do that, we were in a position where we had different people coming at it from different angles with partisan notions and partisan ideas, figuring out how they wanted to proceed on this.
Yeah.
And it's now at a time where we're trying to figure out how to move forward. And that's the focus. But the lesson here is that independent commission, which was established in New York, we had to focus on how we can make sure that that is empowered in a way where it can deliver the intended outcome. The outcome that was intended was to make sure that we didn't have to be in a position where there was so much partisanship in this process.
What do you think about what Congressman Hakeem Jeffries has been saying? He said that the new districts target members of the Congressional Black Caucus because of the way it splits up. It votes in Bed-Stuy and parts of White Plains and Yonkers.
They do. I mean, I think those are facts. This is not an opinion. I think the fact of the matter is those lines do split those up. Now, I'm not going to ascribe any intentions behind those because I don't know the intentions of those folks who decide to make those decisions, but I can tell you the facts are the facts, and they were split. And that does have a profound effect on communities of color and communities that have lived together, raised their children together, worked together. That's a real problem.
Yeah, you know, and communities of color, Latinos are a force to be reckoned with in New York politics, as you know, making up 18% of the voting bloc. There's two primaries this summer, right, because of how everything kind of shaped up. So what's being done to, I guess, encourage Latino voters to get out across the state?
Well, making sure that we are on the ground connecting with folks. I know that the governor and I have initiative to make sure we get Latinos engaged. It is important that as we think about access points to care, access points to employment, access points to housing, we know that in Black and brown communities, they are often marginalized and not considered in the way they should be. And so it's incumbent upon leaders to meet folks where they are and to come forward with a plan of economic investment and resources to support our communities of color on the ground through small businesses, through making sure that we have educational support and housing support. These are the kind of things that if we can speak to, while at the same time acknowledging we have a lot of work to do to make sure that our communities are safe and protected from harm. I think if we can stay focused on these ideas, we can get a lot done together.
Okay, we're going to lighten things up a little bit. Speaking of the Bronx, you recently visited Co-op City, where you showed off some of your hoop skills. So you were a basketball player in college, huh?
I went to Colgate.
Yeah, and so many things we're learning about. You were an aspiring rap artist. We dug up your album cover. Look at that.
Whoa.
How'd you end up in politics?
Well, I think it's important to understand that for me, there was no meticulous path, right? I wasn't in the background trying to plot out how was I going to be into politics. As you can see from my life, right? Growing up as a working class kid in Schenectady, off to Colgate, where I earned a Rhodes Scholarship, and then back home to Harvard Law School, where I met my wife, who's also from New York, and then off to LA to become a hip hop artist, which, yes, my parents were very surprised by that choice. But then coming back home to New York and becoming a litigator at a white shoe law firm, very different experiences. So along the way, never thinking I was going to be in politics, but knowing when the time came, as it did in 2017 and 2018, I wanted to step up and to figure out how I can bridge the gap and bring all these diverse experiences to the table and make sure people understand that in me, they don't have a politician. What they have is a public servant. And that's who I am and what I'm going to be in this role.
Lieutenant Governor, it's your first appearance on Pick Some Ellen Morning News. And what we do here is a quick rapid fire. We have 15 seconds. So here we go, because and you can't think about it. Mets or Yankees?
Yankees.
Knicks or Nets?
Knicks.
Bagel or pizza?
Pizza.
From where?
Anywhere.
There you go.
Good answer. Good answer. All right, Lieutenant Governor, we really appreciate your time and congratulations again.
Thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right, 7:54, everybody. We'll be right back.